started reading Brandon Sanderson's Steelheart. It's the first book in the Reckoner series. Remember everything, forgive nothing. That's the tagline below the title. It's been a rainy couple of days here in Manila lately, and I thought there couldn't be a more perfect time to curl up in bed and start a new book, right? Okay, so two things that kind of scared me before I started this book: genre and hype. Sci-fi fantasy books, I've come to realize now, can really be a hit or miss for me. I've learned that if it's executed really well, then definitely I can have no trouble enjoying it. But if it's handled poorly, if there's such an overwhelming gap between the technicalities of science fiction, the rigidness, the straight lace rules, and its faithfulness to physics and all that, versus the flexibility of fantasy, the whimsical quality of it, the way it's bendable to the author's imagination. If there's too much of a clash between those two genres, then I find that my brain cells can be incapable of appreciating the awesomeness that it's intending to do. Second, hype. I've also had my edgy phase when I used to really be so hesitant joining the bandwagon for things that are really popular. There's something about making yourself feel special because your interest is not aligned with everyone else. Yeah. But I think I've already reached that phase in my life when I genuinely want to understand the hype. The satisfaction of knowing that a hype is worth it is equivalent to the knowledge that a good book and a good writer is getting proper attention and proper recognition that they deserve. So it's a good thing, right? So yeah, there's a lot of pressure to like this book because, like I've said in my previous videos, pretty much everyone who has read Brandon Sanderson liked him. So is there something wrong with me if I don't like it? Those were my thoughts. Before I started reading the book. First impressions. This is not the intimidating book that I was predicting it's gonna be. And there's just so much easy charm in Brandon Sanderson's writing. It's so simple and straightforward, and just the exact opposite of pretentious that I find most science fiction books to be for. It's just earnestly wanting to tell the story, and I find that so accessible and easy to understand. The pages just fly by because the book is not trying to outsmart you or anything, or the book is not being overly sci-fi, not being overly fantasy. It just wants to tell a good story. Characters. We have a heist and found family trope in here, which are tropes that are, apart from the fact that they're really cute, are almost always effective in evoking a sense of emotional investment to the story. It's probably too early to tell my precise judgment about the characters, but I love that they all have little quirks to remember and identify each of them, and they also have their particular sets of skills. I think that what I like most of all is how their names are so different from the names of the epics. The names are such a good embodiment of, I think, the heart of this book's message. At least what I know so far. Now that I'm still under 100 pages, um, I love how the names of the epics are so dramatic and so pretentious and vain. And I mean, their names are Death Point, Fault Line, Fortuity, Steelheart. And then we have the names of our main characters, and their names are Megan, Abraham, Cody, Tia, and our main protagonist is David. Their names are pretty much the most average sounding middle class household names that you can think of, at least in a Western setting. And I think that's such a good metaphor for the disparity between the uh, the epics who have superpowers against the average everyday man. Genius. Now the plot. I like that I cannot predict yet what's gonna happen. I think that's a good sign because it means the author has really refreshing takes on things. I think my favorite thing about the plot is the brilliant pacing. Brandon Sanderson has a way of really sequencing the timeline of events in a very effective way so that every chapter ends in a cliffhanger that immediately wants you to go to the next chapter. The sequence of events are so organic and the storytelling just flows seamlessly. The fact that it's so well plotted reveals how much care and attention to detail Brandon Sanderson has applied on this book. As early as now, I can tell that this is an author that knows where exactly he wants to take me and how to take me there. I can feel that this is an author that I could trust, and this is a story that I would definitely enjoy. Do I love it? Yes. See, this is where I'm coming from. As someone who has grown up being dragged by my brothers to constantly watch anime with them, and living in an era where the past decade has been pretty much dominated by Marvel movies, at least as far as box office is concerned. This is why I struggle with feeling impressed about literature that is devoted to superheroes. There's just nothing new to talk about them anymore. Sometimes that's the way I think. But this angle presented right here, page 181, about heroes needing people to validate their hero-ness. You know, the importance of rulers needing people or constituents to rule over. It shows how people in power is just as, likewise vulnerable to the existence of us as villagers or normal citizens, everyday men and women. We validate their existence. I am shocked. Page 223 of Steelheart, and oh boy, I love how the action-packed scenes whenever their team is in the midst of operations are so tight with suspense. But despite this, the most intense parts are still the ones where they're having internal debates about their conflicting, clashing ideologies and beliefs. Wow. The argument that just took place in this chapter is so rich and brimming with such thought-provoking concepts about flawed leadership and I guess the necessity of good governance versus the significance and downsides of freedom. It's a supernatural, metaphorical discourse about, I guess, somehow the tempting convenience of dictatorship and communism against the refreshing, controversial take on the shortcomings of democracy. Wow. We love a solid sci-fi fantasy tale with eloquently planted hints of political undertones. We stand. It's 11:43 in the morning. I'm on the end of chapter 32 and on page 314 of Steelheart. Really, I'm just stopping because I'm hungry and we have to take our lunch. Otherwise, I would have really continued on the next chapter. You know what this turn of events really had me thinking? This is how you know that world building has really been masterfully done. When the technicalities of the action plan and the operations are finally set in motion, you understand it seamlessly. Like it's established knowledge. Almost like it's the truth. You get what I mean? You know, when the shoe drops and when the danger kicks in and when the life and death stakes finally reach their momentum, you feel the rawness of the hurt or whatever pain is inflicted on the characters. You feel the sincerity, the authenticity of the struggle, because your emotional investment, whether or not you're aware of it, has been motivated and shaped so profoundly. You care. You are part of their story. Their journey and their vision is yours too. And it's a wrap. Finally finished 384 pages of Steelheart. Thoroughly enjoyed every single page of it. And it's such an enriching experience, really. It's not at all what I've expected and exceeded everything I've imagined. Kind of makes me sad, really, that I'm late to the Brandon Sanderson party. But nevertheless, I'm very happy to have discovered him at the height of his career, not only because it's satisfying to see him getting the hype that he deserves, but, you know, just knowing for sure that there are heaps and heaps of his works that are waiting for me. That's already enough to make me so excited. You know, as I keep on reading this, I cannot help but picture everything inside my head. It has a cinematic quality to it that I really wouldn't be surprised if it gets adapted into a live action film. And I would definitely watch that, you know? This is only book 1 of the Reckoner series. I think this is a duology. The next one is Firefight. And there's actually a sneak peek right after the epilogue, but it's best to just save it, I guess, for when I finally have a copy, because I definitely will buy one. Because if there's one thing I know for sure at this time, is that Brandon Sanderson is a master of creating cliffhangers. And I don't want to torture myself like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's the 4th book that I'm reading for the month. 4 down, 1 more to go for me. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and see you on my next video. Bye!